Hello, and thank you for watching this ag forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. I'm starting you off with a map of 24-hour temperature change across the lower 48, and you can see the deep red and gray coloring across the Dakotas and parts of the upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, into the UP of Michigan, where we are 30 to 40 degrees warmer than we were just 24 hours ago yesterday morning. We were talking about sub-freezing temperatures there across parts of the upper Midwest, across the Northwoods there of Wisconsin and Minnesota, where now we're talking about temperatures in the low to middle 60s as we start to warm up once again across the midsection of the country ahead of a coming cool down again across the upper Midwest into parts of the eastern Corn Belt as we get into the mid and late part of the week. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Looking at the satellite picture here, it's going to be another sunny day for just about everyone here across the Corn Belt. We've got some high-level clouds across parts of the Dakotas into the upper Midwest, parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. But again, sunshine across the midsection of the country. We've got Sally making its way up through the Gulf Coast right now, making landfall later on today. But again, sunny skies for just about everyone in the Corn Belt. But if you look up later on today, I bet you it's going to be a hazy sunshine as we look at the forecast for smoke coverage. Again, a result of the wildfires out in the west. We're seeing a lot of that smoke now being caught up in the jet stream and advected eastward across the midsection of the country. This is a loop of the visible satellite picture yesterday on Monday. And again, you can see sunny skies for everyone here across the Corn Belt. Just a couple patches of some lower level clouds, but by and large, what you're seeing there, that big milky appearance there, that is smoke caught in the mid-levels of the atmosphere here, riding the jet stream eastward from the Rockies into the Corn Belt. And this was looking up here from Urbana, Illinois. I was out on a walk with my family right around lunchtime yesterday and just snapped this picture looking at the sun. And again, no clouds in the forecast across central Illinois yesterday. This is entirely wildfire smoke caught several thousand feet above our heads. I got some questions here about the air quality across the Midwest and what the impact of the wildfire smoke would be. And the answer to that across the Midwest is that it's not nearly as severe as the impact is across parts of the Pacific Northwest, where the smoke is caught in the lower levels near surface and at times at the surface. What we're looking at here is the smoke forecast, but in a cross section here at 45 degrees north, which is the parallel. It runs roughly from Oregon to Wisconsin over towards Lake Michigan. So looking horizontally here from the Pacific Northwest all the way into the Midwest. And again, as you get into the Midwest, much of the smoke caught several thousand feet above our heads here, anywhere from around 2,000 to 5,000 feet up there. So the impact, the air quality, not really being felt here across the Corn Belt like it is here across parts of the Pacific Northwest. Let's go ahead and jump into the weather forecast then. That's about all that we have to talk about here across the Corn Belt here. We're going to be talking about a cold front and then some light precipitation around the Missouri River as we get into the mid and late part of the week. But that's about it in an otherwise quiet week across the Corn Belt. So the radar picture is quiet right now. We've got Sally across the Gulf Coast. Nothing going on across the Corn Belt. Sally, again, will make landfall here later on tonight, likely as a Category 2 hurricane, and then spending a lot of the next several days across the Gulf Coast. We're going to be seeing a lot of heavy rain across portions of the southeast here. So looking at the next 7 days of precipitation from the National Weather Service, once again, talking about a quiet week here across the Corn Belt. We've got a couple of chances of some very light precipitation across parts of the Missouri River here into the Central Plains, but by and large, a quiet week as far as precipitation goes in the Corn Belt. So we look at the hazards map from the National Weather Service, also quiet across the Corn Belt. We've got air quality issues in the Pacific Northwest. We've got a hurricane in the Gulf Coast, and then we've got some cool temperatures bringing some freeze warnings to parts of the Northeast. Advisory free, though, as we look at the Corn Belt, and free of severe weather as well as we look at the days 1, 2, and 3 severe weather outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center. Here is Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, we introduced just the threat of some showers and some storms to parts of South Dakota, Nebraska, and western Iowa. The reason we're going to do that, not even because of a shortwave here, we're going to be kind of squeezed between an area of high and low pressure in the central part of the country. We're going to kind of just, squeeze some moisture out of the atmosphere as we get into the mid and late part of the week. So we'll get started here, again, watching all of the very fast jet stream winds here off to our north in the polar jet, right around the U.S. and the Canadian border. As we take this into the mid part of the week, you're going to see this wave right here, the very strong jet stream winds coming around the backside of this trough. That's what's going to bring the cold front in, bringing a reset here and some cooler and drier air into at least the northern and eastern portions of the Corn Belt as we head into the later part of the week. Also then between this trough And between this ridge across the west, between the trough over the Hudson Bay and the ridge across the Rockies, that's where we're going to squeeze some moisture out here as we get into the later part of the week. Now again, on the back side of that trough, deepening across the Hudson Bay, we will bring in another cold front that's going to bring another shot of cooler air that'll be most noticeable across the Dakotas into the upper Midwest and then down into the eastern Corn Belt. This arrives here around Wednesday, Thursday into Friday. But we quickly start to warm back up on the backside there as we transition back to a pattern that's going to favor some ridging across the western and central part of the country. Now, as this front makes its way in, it's going to be running into what's already a relatively dry air mass. We are not talking about anything in the way of, real humid or muggy air mass across the Corn Belt. It's actually been rather pleasant as far as dew points go. So as this cold front comes plunging in, we're looking at a map of dew points on Wednesday afternoon. Right here, you see it coming in. It's slicing in across parts of Iowa, getting into northern Illinois, crossing the Michigan border there, but already running into a relatively dry air mass across the region. So it's not going to be able to do much in terms of precipitation, if anything at all, as it's making its way through here Wednesday into Thursday. We'll then reset things. We'll see another trough come in here across the Dakotas as we get into the weekend. But again, a lot of dry air being rotated around this area of high pressure. So while we will get some moisture return here in advance of this trough that arrives right around Sunday across the Dakotas, not going to be doing much as far as, again, organized precipitation, as this thing is really sucking on a lot of dry air from the east. So let's look at the precipitation forecast then. I'll show you what I'm talking about, these two opportunities for very light precipitation across the Missouri River into the Dakotas. So here we go. We're going through the day today. Dry, quiet across the Corn Belt, likely a hazy, smoky blue sky across the Corn Belt today. Heading into the overnight, quiet still, quiet into Wednesday. The front starts to sink in Wednesday into Thursday. Here you see it trying to pick up some very light precipitation, but again, very dry air already in place here, so not going to be doing much as far as organized precipitation, whereas otherwise maybe we'd be talking about a band, a band of thunderstorms along that front. And then as we head into the weekend again, between this trough off to the north and then the area of high pressure off to the west, we'll get a little bit of a shower and maybe light thunderstorm activity across parts of South Dakota, getting into Nebraska and western Iowa. Again, this right as we get into Friday. Otherwise, that is it until we get this next low that comes out into the weekend across the Dakotas. But I showed you there, we're going to be sucking on a lot of dry air from the east as this front makes its way in on Sunday. So as of now, only forecasting some very light scattered shower and maybe some isolated thunderstorm activity. So the next 5 days of precipitation, here's your Friday opportunity, just squeezing a little moisture out there, maybe a localized 1/2 inch to be found across parts of the Missouri River. And then as I add in the weekend system, this is across the Dakotas into parts of the upper Midwest. Again, scattered light precipitation possible across this corridor. Otherwise, looking at a dry next 5 to 7 days across the Corn Belt. So you look at temperatures then warming back up on the backside of the most recent cool air mass. Of course, we'll be watching for cooler temperatures to make their way in Wednesday and Thursday. It's going to be a cool Friday across the Corn Belt. Many areas in the 50s and 60s, warming back up as we start to head into the weekend. The coolest air is going to be situated over the area here Friday into Saturday. So looking at where we may see some sub-freezing temperatures. Again, Friday possibly across parts of North Dakota into northern Minnesota, central and northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, and then maybe some portions of northern Michigan, lower Michigan could see sub-freezing temperatures here Friday morning. And then Saturday, we shifted just a bit off to the east. Saturday morning, talking about maybe northern Minnesota into northern Wisconsin and maybe northern Michigan as well. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow morning.